What's up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Another episode of Seahawks Now, your home for all things daily Seahawks news, updates, and rumors. Today we discuss, could the Seahawks sign Keenan Allen, veteran wide receiver? Plus, we continue our series highlighting potential wide receivers that the Seahawks could take in this year's draft. Today we're talking about Tennessee's standout, Brew McCoy. Plus, we go over the new numbers on the Geno Smith extension with the Raiders and explain why it looks like it wasn't the money that got in the way of his time in Seattle. All that and more right here on Seahawks Now. But first, guys, if you like the channel, if you like what you see, think about hitting that subscribe button down below. It really helps the channel out. And thank you guys so much for helping us reach 200 subscribers within our first 2 full months as a channel. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate all you guys helping us grow. So comment down below what you want to see more from of this channel, what you want to see less. And I will keep that in mind. We will all keep that in mind. Thank you so much, guys. Let's get into it. So Keenan Allen, veteran wide receiver. We've talked about, could the Seahawks go out and try to sign Amari Cooper? Could they still be looking for that third wide receiver? And Keenan Allen could be as good of a fit as anybody. I mean, he obviously last year with the Bears, you could say it was a down year, but he still had a good season. I mean, last year he went for 744 yards, which isn't as many as he's gone for 1,000 yards 6 times in his career. So when you're used to being 1,000-yard guy, I can see why 740 might be underwhelming, but he still caught 7 touchdowns, which was, the most he's actually caught since 2020 and the second most in his career. He's only caught more than 7 touchdowns twice, which was in 2013, and then in 2020 he caught 8. But 7, that's the third best year of his career as far as touchdowns goes. He got 70 passes. He went for 10.6 yards per reception. He played 15 games. He still had a good season. I mean, yeah, was it his regular Pro Bowl level production? No, it wasn't. He's a 6-time Pro Bowler though, and he's played 12 seasons, so he's half the time he's there. But going into it, he's going to be 33 next year. I still think he can be a productive weapon. I still think he can be a really solid weapon. It seems like the Bears don't really want him though. It seems like the Bears are kind of out on Keenan Allen, which is interesting to me because, yeah, like he came over to Chicago, had a good season, was a nice veteran weapon for Caleb Williams, and now they're kind of done with him. They kind of have soured on him. I'm not sure if it's the price point. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm hearing that the Chargers could be interested in him. I'm hearing the Chiefs could be interested. They could maybe, obviously the Chiefs lost DeAndre Hopkins, so maybe they would be interested in Keenan Allen. I don't know. But I haven't seen anything on the Bears thinking about bringing him back, which is, just definitely interesting because, he was listed as, according to the BearsWire.com, he was the Bears' third best player last year. One of the best old heads in the league, is what they're saying. But, yeah, for some reason the Bears are kind of, they seem like they've soured on him. So not exactly sure why that is, but I'd be interested in seeing the Seahawks bring him in. Obviously, it all depends on the cost. It all depends on how much money is he asking for, how much money does he believe that he's worth. Because, yeah, I mean, if he thinks he's worth, $10 million, $15 million a year, probably not, right? But if he wants, a solid $5 to $8 million deal, I'd be down to see him in Seattle. I think the Seahawks still need to add to that receiving core. I think, and at some points, like, yeah, you could add veterans, you could add rookies. At some point, just add a player that you know is good. And I think we know that Keenan Allen is good. I think we know that. But let's talk about Brew McCoy, late round wide receiver steal. Could this be the future wide receiver 2 or 3 of the Seahawks? Brew McCoy, checking out his stats last year. Now, I say he's a late round steal because the stats are actually not that impressive. 39 yards, 323 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 12.1 yards per reception. He only went for 39.3 yards per game. So why do I think Brew McCoy could be a potential late round steal? Well, because although he doesn't have the stats necessarily from his time at Tennessee, he has a great athleticism score, he has a lot of strength, and he definitely has the talent to be a solid NFL player. So let's get into it. I'm going to read some of his draft profile and just try to put the stats aside because I know the stats aren't great. Comes from Rolling Hills, California. He's a senior from Tennessee, 6'2", 209 pounds with 10-inch hands. His production score was 59, but his athleticism score was a 70. So he's a good athleticism score. His prospect grade is a 6.0. They say he has the traits or talent to be an above average backup. Personally, I think he could be even better than that. I think that he could honestly be a really good wide receiver. I think he could be a solid wide receiver too. I don't know about above average, but I think if you're a solid wide receiver too, that's better than above average backup. His NFL comparison is Gabe Davis, according to Lance Zierlein. Here's what he says. He's a linear wideout with all-star traits, but relatively limited production during his career. Hip tightness demands he run a more limited route tree of go routes, comebacks, and posts. At this point, his routes are too easy to read, allowing keen quarterbacks to jump throws. So that's kind of his issue right now. He does have speed to win deep if he proves he can beat press cleanly on the next level, and you can see a little bit of that in those yards per reception numbers. He's an excellent leaper with a wide catch radius, but the ball skills fail to stand out when contested both short and deep. His traits are alluring, but it feels difficult to project him as anything more than a short or deep target with a wide receiver 3 or 4 ceiling. I don't think that's true. I think he could certainly be a wide receiver 4. A wide receiver 2. I don't think the wide receiver 2 or 3 is where he's at. Here's some issues though. Okay, he was suspended from the USC football team. That's why he transferred to Tennessee. He was suspended from the team after being arrested in July on suspicion of domestic violence. Domestic violence following an alleged incident with his ex-girlfriend. He denied the allegations. The Los Angeles County District Attorney declined to file charges, citing lack of evidence. But USC suspended him indefinitely and barred him from campus. He initially pursued legal action, but eventually decided to enter the transfer portal. So, I don't know how I feel about that either, because I will say this. The Seahawks have had a history of drafting guys who have maybe had some issues with violence. And I know that was something that Pete Carroll really thought that, he could help them. He could help them improve. He could help them be better people. And sometimes it worked out. A lot of the times it didn't necessarily work out. So I don't blame them there for wanting to be careful with Brew McCoy, just because, the history of that, probably does lead people away from Brew McCoy. But at the same time, the traits are outstanding. The athleticism is outstanding. He was a team captain. Physical specimen with elite measurables is what he is listed as. Build up speed to separate vertically and stress safeties over the top. Crisp angles on in-breaking routes create clear throwing windows. He's learned to work back on longer field side throws. Big leaper with expansive catch radius above the rim. Used as a hitch and run option to move the sticks. Both a tackle shaker and a tackle breaker on run after the catch. One NFC scouting director says, I think his ceiling is a good wide receiver 3 or average wide receiver 2 in time. He's got some limitations, but I don't think they will keep him from being a good pro. And I agree. I think he can be an absolutely great pro because he has those physical attributes. I think with some solid development, he can be a really, really good wide receiver. Again, there's a history though of maybe some running with the law, which personally that leads me away from him. And B, just the lack of production at Tennessee makes me wonder, can he ever truly overcome that kind of ease? They said it's easy for cornerbacks to jump him. It's easy for cornerbacks to see what he's doing. So my question is, can he figure that out? If he can, I think he'd be a good option. If not, I would look elsewhere. All right, let's finish this video up. We're going to talk about Geno Smith's extension, and it proves that it was not about the money in Seattle. The Geno Smith extension numbers just came in yesterday, and here's what we've got. According to the Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, they have signed him to a $75 million 2-year extension. They actually nearly pulled off another trade, apparently. They almost went and traded for the Patriots' Joe Milton before he ended up going to the Dallas Cowboys. That's interesting. But Geno Smith gets a 2-year extension. It's actually worth up to $85 million with escalators. $66 million of it is guaranteed. So ultimately, I don't think so. Where you look comparing it to Darnold, right? Darnold's is a better extension. Darnold's is a better deal, right? Smith got a 2-year extension with $66 million guaranteed. Darnold got a 3-year contract, $55 million guaranteed. So Darnold is getting paid $10 million less guaranteed for 1 more year. That's obviously from an annual approximate value range. Geno got the far better deal because he's only getting 2 years, but he's getting much more money guaranteed. Gino's getting 33 million guaranteed per year. Darnold is really only getting about 20, not even 20, about 18 million guaranteed per year. So that's a big difference, right? However, I do think the Seahawks would have paid that money to Geno Smith. I don't think the Seahawks would have balked at a 66 million guaranteed offer for Geno because we heard it was being reported that the Seahawks offered him more like a $35 million deal. The Seahawks offered him an extension with a 35 million a year range. Maybe it was about the guaranteed aspect of it. That could be it. But honestly, I think that it was simply Geno Smith wanting to play with Pete Carroll. I think Pete wanted to play with Geno. Geno wanted to play with Pete. I think that's as simple as that because I think when you look at the money, like the money that was being reported that the Seahawks were initially offering him is not very far off from the money that the Raiders just gave him. So it's like I don't think that Geno was like, yeah, the Seahawks aren't paying me enough. That's why I want to go to Las Vegas. I think it was that maybe he didn't like Mike McDonald, and we can have that conversation later because that is an interesting conversation to have. Maybe it was just that really loves Pete Carroll, and maybe Pete Carroll just came in and said, "Look, I'm going to give you this third round pick. I want to play with Geno. I'm going to help you guys out with cap space as well." And it just happened, and that could be what the deal was there. But I don't think it was about the money because again, the numbers were. It was reported that the Seahawks were offering him a deal in the range of 35 million a year, and now he gets this deal, which it's going to be 42 million a year, but only 33 million of that is guaranteed. So, it's not that far off to me. It's not like that's not a massive number. It's not like he's going to be a top 10 paid quarterback next year. He is getting paid, and congratulations to him for getting paid. I don't think it was about the money for why he wanted to leave Seattle. With that being said, guys, we will see you in the next one. As always, until next time, go Seahawks and have a great weekend.